What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. KG is back with a little bit of an update after some key figures have spoke out in the club. Obviously, the most important one, the main man, being Andrea Radrizzani. Now we're thinking that maybe the club's going to be sold. It's going to be in different hands, but I don't know. After reading the statement, kind of sounds like he's going to have one more in him. It sounds like he's got one more in him. People, I'm here to get your thoughts on that. Talk about a little bit about Tyler Adams, and obviously a few of the other players have come out with statements. But in truth, I've got to be honest. Um, just reading some of the statements, they were very impersonal. I feel like they were done by PR firms, and I'm just going to say that off the bat right now. So um, you can kind of tell when players have done their own statements, but these were very carefully worded, PR driven. It feels like without saying too much, and that's where I kind of stand with a few of the play statements that have come out today. But we'll talk about them anyway. Jimmy saying, surprised you ain't watching Mourinho's Roma versus Sevilla. I will be tuning into that. This isn't going to be a long one today. I will be back tomorrow for a longer one when we've got more time. But yeah, I will be tuning in. I'm hoping that Mourinho does it, man. Go was supposedly washed up. He's in another final right now. You know what I mean? Um, Jim saying thoroughly enjoyed your chat with Michael from the Square Ball the other night. Yeah, shout out to everyone that's watched that one. It's our third year in a row doing that, and we always when we first did those a few years ago, we offline we was always talking about it being a progression back to the old Leeds United of potentially going top 10, top 6, and going back to the heady days. But we didn't foresee what was happening, did we? We didn't foresee that this was going to be the third year and it just be an absolute horror show, and back where we started basically with a whimper, wasn't it? So yeah, I'm glad everyone enjoyed that one. Hopefully we do a fourth one next year and we're celebrating promotion, but we'll see, because we've got to get key things done, and that was said in the statement, and we'll get that up in a bit. um John H, they were too grammatically correct to be authentic statements. It's not just that. Sometimes you can just tell. I know players that do their own social media, but you can always tell the ones that don't. And I always remember when Calvin Phillips started to get England recognition, and his profile was growing, you could tell his social media was done by management. I mean, I haven't looked at Calvin Phillips's posts in a long time, but you could tell that they were done by a PR firm. And it's so obvious sometimes. I know some people can't see which ones are which, but for me, it's no coincidence that they come out 4 hours and then 3 hours. They basically come out in a cluster, didn't they? They come out within like a 2 hour span. So yeah. Yeah, Mike Adams, I found it funny him saying he does not like to make false promises. But yeah, listen, let's get into it. Let's get right into it then. Let me just get the statement up. And smash a like, subscribe, all that stuff. A shout out to Mr. P with the super thanks on the last videos. I haven't been able to get to you just yet, but yeah, you always appreciated. Here we go. So here we are. Let me just go full screen on this one. Yeah. I won't read all of it. Actually, yeah, let me just read all of it. The la- and this is dated as the 31st of May 2023, and it's by Acer Ventures and Leeds United. So it's a joint thing here. He's saying the last few days have been very difficult for everyone associated with Leeds United. I find it very hard to find the right words to say other than to apologize to all our fans for the club's relegation. I'm sincerely sorry for how the season has unfolded. We have made significant investments to try and keep Leeds United in the Premier League, but in working hard to improve the club, we have also obviously made some mistakes. Ain't that the truth? We are reflecting on the decisions that we have taken to ensure we learn the lessons to improve our club and make progress in the future. Leeds supporters deserve more than this. You understand the journey on which we have embarked, and I hope that once the anger and disappointment has subsided, you will see that we can come back stronger. We have invested heavily in Leeds since 2017 and worked hard to get back to where the club deserves to be. With the support of our partners, we can continue that journey to bounce back. I am proud of the progress we have made in recent years. We have become a club that can attract exciting players. We are strong commercially. We have seen improvements to the academy, introduce a women's side, and so much more. In many ways, the clubs has been transformed, and we committed and determined to continue on this journey. I do not like to make false promises. There is still a lot of work to do and changes needed. We need a clear strategy to continue our vision, and the club work for the club and work is underway to produce this, which we hope will be reflected in some key appointments in different areas of the club. We will keep you all updated throughout the process. March on together, Andrea. So yeah, so it really does. It sounds like he's staying to me. I don't know what anyone else gets from that, but to me that sounds like he's on for another year, and he's hoping in the year that we're down that we'll come straight back up, and then maybe he'll sell if we are promoted again from the first year. It sounds like that to me. How is everyone else feeling about that statement? And let me just say something now. Whether he made a statement or not, he was going to get rinsed anyway. But there would have been people saying, "I can't believe he hasn't said anything," but now he said something. Ah, this ain't good enough. He was doomed. Damned if he did, damned if he didn't. But he's come out with that. But for me, it sounds like he's still going to be in charge, and they're just going to make new appointments around the club. Maybe a new director of football, and obviously manager. Pretty important things. But yeah, let me know what you're saying. Julian here saying, doesn't matter what he says now, Cage. He told us there was no chance for in a relegation battle this year, zero trust. And I think he knows that, Julian. I think he's fully aware that the fans have got zero trust in the board right now, and that it's all about actions. Because I don't trust it either, Julian. I'm not different to it. It's just that if he's not gonna go, if he's not gonna sell this summer, he's acquired Sampdoria. I'm sure everybody knows that. But if he's not gonna go, then we're just going to have to hope and pray that he does the right things to get us back up, because this championship is going to be no joke. There's going to be a lot of teams, especially, I've always said it, when we're down there, we are the cup final for a lot of people. So there's going to be a lot of challenges along the way, but we have to get it right, not just off the pitch, but on it as well. We need to make the right recruitment decisions as well. So he knows it. He knows what he's got to do here. Shelley saying he should have bowed out with at least some grace. I will say this, Shelley, it's business, and when you think you're going to get a certain amount of money, I can understand. I think anyone, if when you try and compartmentalize what he's doing here, he could be losing up to 300 million, or not getting 300 million if he was to sell this summer. So I can understand why he'd probably give it another year, especially with the parachute payments and with a good chance of getting promoted at the first time of asking. I can see it from that point of view. I guess it's because of working in businesses before. I can see the reasons why. What is the vitriol worth it if he when he turns up at Ellen Road on the first game of the season? Probably not. But is the carrot at the end of this worth it if we do go up? Yeah, and business people are worthy of their gambles. That's what they do. That's how they make money. They gamble, speculate to accumulate. Um, Gary Theakston saying Rads is to Leeds what Mike Ashley was to Newcastle. It's all about money. It's all about money for all of them, Gary. But I'm afraid it really is. It's They don't own the clubs for the love of it. They lose money when they own football clubs constantly. So it is always about money. But I really did think that he was probably going to have a clean break, but just from that statement, it sounds like he's going to give it one more go. Let me just get the super chats. Oh, Gary as well saying Big Sam on his podcast earlier asked which three players he would like to work with again in the future. He said Cock, Ailing, and Harrison. Oh Lord, LMAO, is he for real? We're doomed if he stays. Yeah, I saw somebody else who had him on a podcast talk about three players he bought on Football Manager, and it was three absolutely meaty players, and that is concerning. And if that is true, Gary, if that's what you said is true, Cock, Ailing, Harrison, then yeah, man, please let's get a new manager in straight away. Raddy Billy say might be a good thing if Rad stays. Would 49ers have the experience to know how to do it themselves? At least there will be less uncertainty. Well, Radby Leeds, Radrizani doesn't have it either. He's hired people to make those decisions. As we all know, Victor Orta. So the 49ers would have their own people in place as well. Angus Kinnear, I don't know if he is staying or not. But it's always going to be people underneath the owners. It's never just going to be on the owners. Whether it's the Glazers, whether it's the Cronkies or anyone else, they always hire people underneath to get the football inside on. They're the money people. They let people underneath do it. And I'm sure the 49ers would have people in place, but maybe it's not as attractive to the 49ers too. Maybe the 49ers have said, listen, you know what? We like Leeds United. We think it's a good investment, but not as a championship commodity. It could be one of these. It might not just be in Andrea's hands. It could be the 49ers saying, get yourselves back up and we will happily give you the money that you're requesting. We just don't know, do we? And with businesses like this, you're never going to know because there's going to be all kinds of NDAs signed and things like that. So yeah, it's all up in the air, isn't it? Shelley saying, if he stays, where will he be every Saturday, Italy or Leeds? And Gary here, just following on from that, KG, can he take money out of us to put it in his new club? Let me just say this: I've got no issues with Radrizzani owning Sampdoria, none at all. The only time I will probably question it is if I see Sampdoria sign someone for 8 million in Serie B, and I'll be like, where's that money come from? And then I'll be looking over those accounts the next year and saying, is that where it's come from? Because I've got no issues with people owning multiple clubs. There's plenty of people that have done it and are very successful doing it. Um, own business people have this; they have multiple investments. It's no different to property people. But as long as the money stays at Leeds United, I don't want to see any of our parachute money being loaned over to Sampdoria. That's when I will say, "Hey, you can't do that. That is our money to help get us back to the Prem. Whatever you're doing with Sampdoria, you and QSI or whoever it is, get on with it. But Leeds United is a separate entity." Um, Jack here saying, I have zero belief in Andrea to make the right appointments, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. Jamie here saying, can see us being closer to League One than the Prem circus of a club. Okay, just hold on a second. Hold on a second. Okay, back again. Yeah, listen, you know what it is with things like that, Jamie? I just feel like we've already got a nice base to go off. And we saw Archie Gray again, another one of our youngsters do the business on the international stage. We've got a good base to go on, but other things around it have to be right. I've always said about the experience. And listen, we're going to go through this in a video very soon, possibly even tomorrow. But we need some new experienced players, and this is and there's no Stockholm syndrome with me. I'm aware that Aileen Cooper and all these guys are experienced players, but they're not good experience. We need some new ones. How about some people from 25 to 30 years old? Doesn't that sound better to you guys? Some people that are fit, some people that are agile, athletic, can play with the football at their feet. Doesn't that sound good to you? We need to invest in some of those kind of players, so 25 to 30. And I'm seeing all of the yeah, Bill, it is Bill, it's hay fever. Trust me. I know some people saying full of cold. It is hay fever. I'm absolutely suffering with it today. But I'm seeing all kinds of rumors being linked with moves into the club. Makes no sense to me. It's just paper talk. It's just journalists making up stuff, throwing stuff at the wall, hoping something will stick because we literally have nobody in place to recruit players. Unless it's Andrea Radrizzani himself, who is busy over with Sampdoria right now, there is no link into players. There isn't. So until these key appointments that Andrea has alluded to have taken place, there's no point speculating about incoming players for me. It's just all rumor and innuendo. There's no point. Um, but it's funny seeing some of the names. People are trying to link to us, but I'm looking more at the outgoing names, and we've seen. Let me just get my notes up. I mean, you're seeing things like Cooper and Rasmus happy to stay. Well, whoop de doo. You know what I mean? I mean, what is that supposed? Maybe it does something for you guys. I'll speak for myself. That does nothing for me. Does zero for me. Rasmus in the championship. I don't know, man. I don't know. Oh, no. Robin Coughlin with Tottenham. Seen that one, and that is just so Tottenham. If that was true, it would just be so Tottenham to think that they get in this German centre back, international, and I mean, yeah, it would be very Spursy, wouldn't it? Uh, again, Jed, we need more wingers. Melier as well, linked with Chelsea and Man United. Dan James, is he set to return? Drame, a report saying that he might stay. I mean, for me, that is just speculation, really and truly. The only persons that we've seen talk about Drame who's credible are people that are saying that there's Premier League clubs looking at him. I think it's just a report thrown out there to say, hey, he might stay. I mean, I could throw that out there. At the moment, everything is just speculation right now. And it's a crap place to be in because it's our better players that are being linked with moves away. Really and truly is. Yeah, Jamie. I mean, this is what happens when you get relegated. Jamie just saying, simply put, this club is a mess because it is. Um, Mark here, Gerard is the new bookies favorite. What do you think about that, KG? Again, it's bookies and everything else like that. I don't really take those things for what it is. But Steven Gerrard so far, uh, I will just say this because I've spoken about it on here before. He has to learn from his mistakes, especially when it's talking about player personnel and how he treats them. If he's not using them, he has to learn from that. He and Frank Lampard have been very, very similar in the way that when they don't use players, they act like they're not even there, and that just doesn't work. You can't do that. No matter how poor the player is, they're human beings at the end of the day, and you've got to be honest with them. And just from somebody yeah, he just needs to be better. But you would hope that with every sacking with these kind of managers, they learn a lesson. Frank Lampard hasn't learned many lessons, let's be real. But you'd hope with Steven Gerrard that he's looked back at what he's done at Villa and seen where he's gone wrong and said, hmm. But as a front runner for the job, I feel like there's better options. But at this point in time, right now, people win the championship. And even I'm now having to try and readjust my head and saying, okay, maybe this player, this manager would work for the championship. This is what I'm having to do now. Um, Chris is saying, got to go all out for Potter or Rogers. Yeah, Potter, not for me. I think he's being linked with Palace, isn't he? But yeah, Brendan Rodgers would be lovely. But again, he's being linked with Premier League moves. And this is the problem that we've got. If we'd stayed up and we were after Brendan Rodgers, why wouldn't he come to Leeds United? It's a great appointment. Really, really, truly good. I always say with Brendan Rodgers, you'll get 3 good years out of him. And listen, with managers, and especially what we've been through over the last year, that would be pretty decent, wouldn't it? 3 years of a steady coach. So for me, Rodgers would have been the guy for me. He likes to play football. He's very possession based. He likes players that can use the football, which is very nice. I would love to see that again. I see a few of you saying Corberan. Yeah, in the championship, cool. Yeah, but we've just got to see. Listen, people, this is, as we're saying, this is all speculation. This is all wish list stuff, isn't it? Because Andrea still hasn't got key people in the places where they need to be at the football club. So until he does that, and hopefully, what are we on now? Wednesday? Please, let's get it done by the end of the week. I mean, I want it done by tomorrow. I'm not joking. I'm impatient. I want these people in place now. But you've also got to think from Andrea's side. Is he taking a little bit more time after the whole Victor Orta thing? Is he really doing his due diligence to make sure that the person that he entrusts to try and get this football club back up is the right man or person? You know, there's just been a lot of hurt, a lot of burned bridges all over the place between fans, between the owners, between themselves. There's a lot to rebuild here. But it shouldn't be as bad as it was. It won't be as bad as it was when we first went down. We've come down with parachute payments, people. We've come down with them. So, and we've even got players on that are going to return or they're going to get sold, which means there's even more money to play with. So we're in a very, very strong position. And let's not forget that we're in a strong position, but we've got to take advantage of that. Um, Rob saying it'd be nice to hear from both sides how negotiations are going. Yeah, it doesn't. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. I think you're seeing even with the Manchester United stuff with that takeover, the two prospective owners are playing public chess in the media, trying to one up each other. Yeah, it just doesn't work like that. And meanwhile, the Glaziers are just staying quiet. It's the best way to do business. Uh, Danny here saying, "Oh, somebody must have said it about Nuno Espirito Santos." Yeah, yeah. I mean, why not? Why not? At least the defense would probably be sorted out with new defenders. By the way, new defenders. I want them. I want them. Paul saying, "KG Rad is doing due diligence." Really, I know people, but with every mistake that you make, you would hope people learn off learn from it, and this is the ultimate mistake. And you know what? There's no evidence of that. So I'm with you, Paul. There is no evidence of them learning from the mistakes. We went into this season with the exact same defensive core, same goalkeeper, and thought we could run it back. Poor, poor. But will they learn from that? Now we're down. We always used to see, didn't we? Teams used to get promoted to the Prem and not spend much money. They get relegated, and all of a sudden they're spending 15 million here, 11 million. It's like, well, why didn't you just do that when you're in the Premier League? Sometimes it takes the biggest mistake for people to learn. We're just going to have to see. We're just going to have to see, people. Um, Liam trying to run back 2000 2007 here, bloody hell. But yeah, uh, Evie here saying Rads will never be accepted at Ellen Road again. He's a disgrace and has thrown us to the wolves to buy a shiny toy. Uh, oh, you mean Sampdoria? I mean, it's not much of a toy, is it? The Serie B with a points deduction. You know, I mean, I think he's just bought an additional toy to play with, but it's just another investment. And I don't know if it's going to work like the Watford model where we're exchanging players. I would hope not, because I haven't heard of a good player at Sampdoria in a long time. So yeah, I don't know what his reception is going to be when he next steps back into Ellen Road, but I don't imagine it's going to be a very nice one. But it all depends on how this summer goes. All depends on how this summer goes. If there's a big overhaul in the squad, if we see some new exciting players, some good experienced players that know what they're doing, that can play football. I need to stress that. I don't want just experienced players because they're good for the dressing room. Yeah, that's done us well in the past couple of years, hasn't it? It's done us brilliant, hasn't it? Having these guys in the dressing room as leaders. Awesome. No, let's get some actual football players that have got some heart, that are brave, that understand what it is to play for a big club that with a heavy expectation on their heads. Let's see how they get on. I don't want to see some of these guys back. And listen, we'll get into it. Um, Paul Gray here. You think the likes of Nanto will stick around, KG? It's too early, Paul. You know what? It's a good way to actually segue onto to Tyler. He's come out with a statement today. Let me just get this up. Yeah, here we are. So yeah, Tyler Adams basically saying it's just and I quote, it's not just been a tough few days reflecting on what happened. It's been a tough couple of months having to watch from the sidelines and be unable to help my team, teammates, and you guys, the fans, to keep us in the Premier League. All we can say as players is we're sorry. You have been incredible. You guys have been incredible all season and deserve more. And there's some guy underneath KG Vision saying you did your job, Captain. So, you know, wishful thinking from that KG guy. I don't know. I don't know what he's on about. I don't know what he's on about, but yeah, listen. I know Tyler has some input into what he posts, so I know that he would have approved the message regardless. But you know what I was hoping to see at the end of it, and it's a wishful thing, isn't it? But you were just hoping to think, hmm, and I'll be back here to help us get back up. But that's too much, isn't it? Because you hear the release clause. I don't know how much Tyler Adams' release clause is in terms of how much it's going to be to get him out. You know, we bought him for something like 20. I can't imagine his relegation release clause being more than that. It's usually less than that, isn't it? It's usually a lesser figure to benefit both the player and the relegated club. So he's going to have interest, but is he going to give it another go? Is he going to give us a year, and try and help us up? It's going to be interesting to see, isn't it? There's so many things, and I lump Willie Nonto into that. Is he going to stick around in the championship? It's also, some people today actually, someone, Paul Gray here asked me about Nonto. Somebody was talking about international football. Well, he was playing international football. He's in the Swiss league, and with all due respect, is the championship any worse than the Swiss league? So I think he's still got a shot of playing international football if he stays at Leeds United and plays week in, week out in the championship. Okay, so some people saying news it's 30 million for Tyler Adams' release clause. Yeah. To me, that's light money then. That's light money for a club in the Premier League. Maybe not abroad because money's a bit tighter, but I can see some Premier League clubs paying that. But for me, unless he desires the move, if he's saying, "Look, 30 million's too much, please let me go," then you have to let him go. I'm afraid. I just never believe in keeping players that don't want to be here. No point. People moan about playing for the badge. Well, if somebody's got their heart on a move out, let them go. Let them go. Um, but if he's willing to stay on and is saying, well, unless somebody really wants me and they hit the release clause, and if it is 30 million, then I'll consider it. But until then, I'm staying. That would be the best case scenario for me. It would. Cloud Dizzle saying more fights in the champ, he'll love it. Yeah, he's a physical guy, and I think he would. I think he would adapt to the championship like a duck to water. Really do. But we'll see. Richard Ruff here saying Nanto does not need to sell. No clause in the contract to sell. I think he's saying that Nanto doesn't need to be sold because there's no clause. But the problem is, Richard, especially with the way that it went for him under Garcia in the last couple months, if he wants to go and he's got significant interest and Leeds can get a decent fee, you have to sell him. Now, we don't have to sell everybody. Let me make this clear because I see this all the time about relegation release clause. You know, Brendan Aronson coming out, his agent, and everyone's letting the media know, and hey, he's got a relegation release clause, guys. Hello, hello. It doesn't mean that they're going to be met. Somebody has to make the bid for that contract. And until it is met, unless there is goodwill on both sides to say that if a club really reaches a certain amount, we'll let you go, then you don't have to sell. You just don't have to. But it's up to the player and the club to say what is the best for both parties. Because you can't keep unhappy players. Let me tell you, if you start keeping unhappy players just because they're good players, we'll end up like Stoke City. And if you remember that Stoke team when they first came down, listen, when we first played Stoke under Bielsa, that was a team that had just been relegated from the Premier League and was littered with Premier League players, but they didn't want to be there. They didn't want to be there, and it showed in their performances. That's what you get because they don't want to be in the championship. They have to have that commitment first of all. Some people don't want to do the Saturday, Tuesday thing. They don't want to do it. So you have to take that into consideration when you're talking about keeping players, even if they don't want to go. I mean, if even if they want to go, sometimes you have to think about the human and also the effect on the football club. Crypto Steve. I mean, this is an extreme example, Steve. Kane was made to stay. Listen, Crypto Steve, if you remember when Kane first did stay, though, let's be try and remember the full story on this one. He was made to stay, and for the first couple months, he was absolutely awful. He was terrible. But Harry Kane being Harry Kane, he made it up in the end. I think from what December, January, he just started to get the goals again. But the point is, you could see how unhappy he was when that Man City move didn't materialize. In the first couple of months, he looked like he couldn't be asked. He didn't want to be there. So it does happen. And let's face it, he's got an elite mentality. I know people question his mentality if he stays at Spurs, and I would too, but he's an elite player. So he only has to do so much. He knows where the goal is. He'll always make it up. We're not that lucky with some of these players. Let's be real. But I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Um, Yeah, smash a like, people. I don't think I've done the whole thing because of my hay fever. I think I'm just trying to get through this as quickly as possible. Uh, Anto here, KG. The one thing none of us are thinking of is the time we have left before the championship start. 8 weeks is a short time to get everything in place. Manager, director of football, new signing, pre-seasons. No, I've thought about it, Anto. I've mentioned it on the last couple of videos. There isn't a lot of time, which is why I want these kind of things done and dusted by the end of the week at the most. If anything, I wish that they'd get appointed tomorrow and we could talk about it then. But yeah, there isn't a lot of time. We do have to have a big turnaround, but let's start already. Let's start getting out some of the players that are just not good enough. Let's start with that first, and then replacing those guys. But there's no one there to do it. That's why the appointments are there. To That's why Andrea has to make the appointments as soon as possible. Uh, David H, top priority, new number 9. David, new number 9, centre backs. If Drame goes, right backs, left backs, centre mids. Yeah, all over the gaff, David. Oh, I see. Anto saying, I mean, with his statement. Okay, no worries, no worries. But yeah, I'll put up Jack Harrison's one. Let me just. He, let me just put that in here. Yeah, I mean, I don't really follow Jack Harrison, but anyway. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Although this season didn't end the way we had hoped, I want to express my gratitude for all my teammates and fans that supported us along the way. I mean, cool. But Jack Harrison, I will mention him because he's one of those that people do see as a key player, but I feel like he's got enough Premier League interest. And I hear what is his relegation release clause? Because I'm hearing like 16 million. And if that's the case, first of all, we've done ourselves dirty by not selling him in January. Well, we should have done. But yeah, if it's 16 million, he's got so many Premier League clubs that would want him. He's still a very high sought after commodity, even though most of us as fans know his inconsistencies. The commentators, coaches, scouts absolutely love him. So I think that he will be moving on this summer. What do you guys think? Uh, yeah, Mark. Unfortunately, the players who aren't good enough are the players we can't sell. Yeah, well, you'd hope with the relegation release clauses that maybe that clubs can go back into them. I'm sure there's some League One clubs that will take a couple of our players. I'm sure they will, and just don't even think about giving Forshaw a new contract. Just don't even bother. But we know how this goes here. Um, Acton Dave Harrison is one of our better players, but he goes missing too much for me. Yeah, Acton. I mean, I've been speaking with Michael about that on the show yesterday because Michael, as he says, he's very sentimental, but he likes him a lot. And like I've always said, I like him a lot too, but he's just too inconsistent for me. And maybe a fresh start would do him good as well. I feel like there's a few players like that in terms of just going and starting afresh somewhere else. And I think Harrison could possibly be in that as well. So, yeah, um, if you could get the consistent 4 to 5 games you get in a row of him more often, then he would be worth like 80 million. Let's be real. If Harrison was as good as people think he is, he'd be worth a lot more than 25 million or the 16, 17 million he's going to go for due to a relegation release clause. He would be worth much more, but he's got a ceiling, unfortunately, and it's on him. It's on the team as well because sometimes he does put stuff in, some crosses in that don't get met, and that is true. But you've seen in games where he's just huffing and puffing and trying to get through 3 players and it's not working. Yeah, listen. Um, Foxy, do you see Sinistera leaving on loan or permanently? It's interesting. I don't know. Yeah, isn't he still currently injured? If he's still injured, then no one's going anywhere. No one's going anywhere. So I would absolutely love Sinistera to stay though. Imagine Sinistera in the champ. Whew, he'd kill it. He'd absolutely kill it. He was good enough in the Prem when we see him for those fleeting moments in the championship. Wow. If we had him, we'd have a game changer on our hands every game as long as he stayed fit, which is the key. Let me just get into Mooks here with a super chat. Thank you, Mooks. Hi, KG, mate. Only 3 places to go at. Remember, my mate is a Sunderland fan and Prem team fight to go back up. Middlesbrough, Leicester, Southampton, not easy. Oh no, I never said it was going to be easy, Mooks. I said, in fact, I said with Michael, trust us to go down with the year where it's probably going to be one of the hardest years. But in general, when you look at the quality of the football in the championship, it's absolutely rotten. The clubs aren't as good as they were when we was last there because of the money that just doesn't go back into the championship unless you've been relegated. There was always clubs that you would always fear, but there's a lot of average players in the championship, a lot of them. So as long as we take advantage of the financial situation we're in, the position of strength we're in, we will be one of the favorites. It's not going to be easy. Listen, I'm sure Norwich will be coming back stronger. Maybe even West Brom. There's going to be other clubs as well that will be fighting for the places, but we've got to make sure that we're one of the front runners. We're Leeds United, freshly relegated and with a war chest on our hands. Come on, we've got to look at it that way. But things have to get done off the pitch correctly. Otherwise, we're going to have no chance. Because I know for a fact, if we went in for no, not for a fact, I just feel if we went into the championship first day with this team that we had against Spurs, yeah, we probably lose every game, man. We probably lose every game. But yeah. So yeah, listen, people, I'm gonna leave it there. I know, Effie. Yeah, Heavenly Harrison. That stupid look up he does drives me crazy. Yeah, and you see more than that than anything, don't you? And that's just the frustrating thing with Jack Harrison. Listen, he is a decent player, but for me, if people are thinking that he's the be all and end all when it comes to wingers, then I would advise you to watch more football because there's much better out there than Jack Harrison. And this is something that fans have to come to terms with. It's almost like a Stockholm syndrome with some of these players being here so long where fans don't believe that they can do any better. We can. It's just that the people above us haven't recruited properly and have made it look like the best players are always these players that we've had that got us promoted. It's just not true. It's just that you've got to recruit better. Man, I'd recruit better than what Victor Rota did. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But AFV, though, saying Cine will get wrecked in the championship. Could do. He could do. Yeah, I know, Michael. Harrison, as good as Raf was the saying last season. Wow. It that's what I'm talking about. It's just it's that promotion clout that they've got. It's insane to even think Jack Harrison could lace Rafinha's boots is an insult. It really is. Do you ever see Jack Harrison? Could you see him going Barcelona and doing anything? I know I couldn't. Is he going to go Real Madrid? No. Is he going to go Milan? No. He's not going anywhere like that. He'll be back in the Prem for sure. But as good as Rafinha, come on, man. Let's not do this, man. Let's not do this. Michael here saying you're right, Casey. I don't know who Casey is. Hello, Casey. Uh, watched quite a few championship games, and the quality isn't all that. It's awful, Michael. I watched a few games last season, Michael, and it was when somebody mentioned it on the second to last stream before we got relegated, the reality hit about playing these games again. The football is absolutely turgid. It's awful. It's absolutely diabolical. And that's why I'm saying if as long as we have the good players in place, we should be okay. At least doing the playoffs. I don't even want to think about playoffs. I want to go up automatically. Playoffs is the worst case scenario for me, but obviously the worst case would be finishing outside. But the quality isn't there like it used to be. It was a much more competitive league a few years ago when there was more money before the worldwide shutdown. Now there's clubs just barely hanging on, just barely hanging on. So yeah, AFV Stockholm syndrome for real. That's classic, but so true. It is. It definitely is. Sorry, I'm sorry to say to people that think that some of these players are good players. But some of these guys were middling championship players before Bielsa came in. I don't know what makes people think that they're going to be any different without Bielsa and being years older. I just don't see it. But like I say, we all see football very, very differently. Um, yeah. Oh man, Michael got one. You see this. See, this is what I'm fighting against. You know what I mean? This is why I need to talk about more teams than just Leeds United, man, because this is what I'm up against. Mateus Click. All right, man. Listen, people. I'm gonna leave it there. I'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully, if the hay fever isn't gonna like take me out, I'm gonna go and watch Roma now. Hear from people in the chat that they're 1-0 up. Jose Mourinho doing his stuff. Please hit a like on the video. Leave your comments below about anything. Discuss your thoughts on Radrizani, especially if you think he's going to stay. Your thoughts on Radrizani potentially staying. Try and keep it clean, people. This is still a YouTube channel, not a free for all. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow, man. And thanks for hanging out with me. See you in the next one. Peace out.